So you have a 79 series and you want to do some enhancements. Well, in this video, we're going to go through from start to finish about tuning and the modifications around this car and everything there is to know. We get a lot of frequently asked questions, anything from changing your oil all the way up to does this affect my warranty? Well, in this video, we're going to show you what we're doing in the process and also aftercare with this vehicle and what you need to know. So in this first section, we're going to go through what you guys need to know before booking the car in with Just Autos and what you guys need to do prepared to coming to us. First question we get asked a lot is, how do I prep my vehicle ready to come into Just Autos? Well, the first things first, but your maintenance is very important to us. So making sure the car has been well maintained is critical for the outcome that we're going to do here. Every car that comes to Just Autos will go through a pre-dyno inspection where we inspect the car out to make sure that servicing has been done correctly in the areas that we require to make sure we can do our job efficiently. So what we require from your car is to be mechanically sound and also clean. It's a really big thing. If you've been out for driving the day before and there's mud everywhere, we really don't want to have that all over the car. Not only does it make it hard for us to do our job, is that mud covering everything is just not ideal for our situations. We try and be very respectful and clean in our workshop and make sure we can have that at that higher standard. Let's talk about tyres. Should I change my wheel and tyre combo back to the standard to come in for the dyno tuning, or is it okay to run the larger tyres and wheels on my car? I guess the answer to that question is it's okay to run whatever wheel and tyre combo you would like. It will, however, change the output of power on the dyno as a number, but it doesn't change the overall power that the engine is producing. So it's nothing to be concerned about that. And the way that we tune for all load areas, so it's not going to be concerned for if you do put 35-inch tyres on your car, or you go back and vice versa, you don't have to get your car retuned around that. So it's perfectly fine. Whatever you feel as though you're comfortable with having on your car, we're more than happy to dyno with those wheels. Can I put my car back to standard? Well, yes, anything can be put back to standard. We have the ability now with EasyTune to send our customers out with a dongle, and we can actually put your ECU back to standard from the comfort of your own home. I guess the question comes together, why are we doing this and what's the reasoning around it? So if there's a problem or there's an issue, by all means get in contact with us and we'd be more than happy to talk about any of the concerns. Tradies. We get asked a lot, do I need to take the tools off my vehicle before bringing it into Just Autos for a tune? Well, obviously if you need to use those tools during the day for your own work, well then we advise you to do that. But other than that, it doesn't affect what we have. Our dynos are rated for quite a large amount of weight to have on those trays. So by all means, keep your tools in place. It doesn't affect what we do. But please keep in mind that you make sure that everything on the back of the vehicle and in the car is secure. One of the biggest hit questions that we get asked on a regular basis, does this affect my manufacturer's warranty? Any modification you do to your vehicle, it doesn't matter what it is, there is always a possibility that it's going to affect your manufacturer's warranty. And more than ever, our cars are getting larger and bigger and more powerful. So with that in mind, a lot of the time the warranty will not be covered under your manufacturer's warranty. So for guys that have a 70 series Land Cruiser, good news for you is that we have our own warranty. If you want more information about that warranty program, please get in contact with the guys at the front. All right, so for all you guys who have manual transmissions, the question that gets asked is, do I need to upgrade the clutch before I come in? And the short answer to that is no, you don't. We can do that in-house, but 100% yes, the car does need an upgraded clutch before we start tuning it. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about aftermarket modifications and if you require them on your vehicles or not. Catch cans. Do we need catch cans? Well, the short answer is no, you don't require a catch can. However, a lot of people are coming in nowadays with catch cans and they're being sold catch cans on the faith of if you don't have one, you're going to have problems. Now, if you have your EGR system, where the EGR, the exhaust gas recirculating system, is still in full function on your car, well then we do advise that that's probably the best way to avoid having clogged up manifolds over time. However, when we have the cars here at Just Autos, we are disabling that system, so therefore you're not getting that build up over time and don't have that problem. The biggest thing about catch cans we see is usually they're not getting emptied on servicing, which can cause problems with the engine, inducing a lot of oil and therefore making it very smoky and unpleasant to drive. Also, we find that with a lot of catch cans, the way that they're fitted, and if the valving fails inside the catch cans, they can pressurize the system and cause more leaks with seals leaking and rocker covers leaking and a whole lot of range of different things. So what we advise is the most simplest way forward, and that is doing what the manufacturer has done from day one and keeping that system in a recirculating system that it currently is. We don't have a problem with that. We find that's the most reliable way to be, is keeping it as simple as possible. Do I need a secondary fuel filter on my car? Well, this is a question that I get a lot, and a lot of people are surprised by my answers around this. And I guess the answer to the question that everyone's looking for is no, you don't need a secondary fuel filter. My advice is to replace your factory filter frequently, and if you can do that every service, well then that's a fantastic way to go. I guess the reason why I don't like secondary fuel filters is because putting a restriction in line on a lot of our common rail systems only allows our pump to get hotter and the fuel to get hotter over time and causes problems. And this is to do with cavitation, which is a whole nother story around this subject. But as far as the foreign matter goes, the factory filter works extremely well. Remember, a lot of the buildup that you are seeing in your filters, and especially the black filters, are actually to do with asphalt and got nothing to do with the dirt that's in the fuel. It's to do with the refinery process. And that is because diesel in our common rails is running around at 110 degrees on the return side back to the tank. And over time, it splits this diesel, and the byproduct of that is asphalt. And unfortunately, that's the black stuff that you are seeing in your filter. So there's a lot more information we have online about this. However, if you do have a secondary fuel filter, we recommend that you guys change it to a 30 micron filter pre-filter, and don't have it as an after filter down to a 5 or a 12. And at the end of the day, you know, we recommend to leave the factory alone and don't do any more with it from there. Do I need to run boost gauges and EGTs or scan gauges? Well, I guess around those questions is they're always good to monitor things. I never take that away from you guys wanting to have a look at the information, the data. I love data, and I think it's a great idea to look at. However, if you don't know what you're looking at or you don't have a baseline, that data can make you go down a rabbit hole and look at things a lot differently, and also give you something else to concentrate on or worry about, which may not even need to be there. So my question is to you is that around that is, why are you putting on these gauges? Is it to do with looking at for more safety? However, these factory ECUs and a lot of the software that we're putting into these ECUs are there to do that job for you. So you don't have to monitor gauges, you don't have to monitor temperatures. We are controlling that system for you. You are paying us for our expertise and our advice to make sure that that is set up correctly for what you are doing. However, having a scan gauge, which allows you to read data, but also has the function of reading codes and clearing codes and a whole lot of range of stuff that you can do with them, are an awesome bit of gear and a handy bit of gear to have if you can't get in contact with one of us or you're stuck somewhere. In this section, we're going to be talking about the modifications that we're bolting onto your vehicle and the effects they have. Well, the airbox that we have at Just Autos for the 79 series is a metal airbox that we run. It takes the factory filter, which is a paper element, which we are highly recommending. It's a great filter. You can get it anywhere. We definitely do recommend to go to a genuine filter. However, changing that filter regularly will ensure that you don't have dusting issues furthermore. Oiled foam filters and why I wouldn't use them. I guess it's all personal choice of what you prefer to use, but we look at data and it's really important to understand why we are using these filters. There's a technical reason into how we adjust our boost control and our turbos, ensuring we don't have overspeed and having problems with the turbo. I don't have a problem with oil-filled filters other than the fact that I don't know how much oil to put on them, and if they're over-oiled or not maintained correctly, you are going to have problems. It's as simple as that. And we see time and time again cars coming in with oil filters that haven't been maintained, that are blocked up and causing other problems. So we believe the paper element works really, really well, and changing that regularly is the best outcome to ensure reliability. Factory top mounts or front mounts? Really big question around intercoolers for this model of car, and there's a few options on the market. There is a varied options of top mount intercoolers for the 79 series, as well as front mount intercoolers for this particular model. However, we choose to go to a factory top mount intercooler, and we do this for reliability, especially when we're traveling on corrugated roads or four-wheel driving in the bush. These things just don't rattle, they don't move, and they don't fracture, they don't have problems sitting in a location that they were designed to sit in. When we find we're adding a front mount intercooler, which are really good for cooling, we find that we're getting too close to a lot of different components in the car, and you may find you have problems with rubbing and other little niggling issues that you will get by doing that along the way. So our motto is less is more. If you have an approach of a genuine way of doing things, it ensures reliability, and that's what we're passionate about, trying to keep things simple but still give you the performance gains that you require. How does tuning affect my operating temperatures? Well, it's a really good question, and yes, it does affect your operating temperatures. Increasing power and load will always increase heat, so you have to be mindful of this. So when we tune the car, we always recommend to make sure the car is serviced correctly, and around that, ensuring that the radiator is free of grass, seed, and also silt that's built up from doing water crossings. Having that all looked at, your temperatures will be maintained and they'll be fine. However, if it's a really hot day and you're pushing up a hill towing a big load, we do have things in the ECU that will pull back fueling and try and reduce that temperature over an extended period. If you're continually having overheating issues, well then there's something else going on, and we obviously recommend for you guys to go to either a Just Auto store or one of our distributors. All right, exhaust systems for your 79 series. There is so many different options out there. We love our FATS 4-inch exhaust system that we run. It's a beautiful exhaust system. Not only does it look amazing, it sounds amazing. And of all the exhaust systems I've tried over the years, this is by far the one that I am happy with, the note that comes out of these cars. Yes, there is some gains in performance, but mostly overall, it's the noise that you're going to be getting out of one of these things, especially in the stages of just doing exhaust. Yes, there is DPF back exhaust systems as well on offer. Again, it's not so much about the power with those exhaust systems, more the look. However, you know, my pick of the choice is the FATS 4-inch Just Auto exhaust. Plastic versus stainless in snorkels. Okay, it's a really big question. Again, there is nothing wrong with either one. It's an option of choice that you decide to have on your car and the look that you are going for. As far as airflow goes, a lot of the pipes that we're running on these cars are more than adequate to flow the amount of air for these engines. I like the Safari snorkel. I think it fits amazing to the car. I like that plastic look, and I like how, you know, they're very seamless. The stainless steel snorkels are still a really good option, and at the moment on a lot of the newer cars, there isn't an option to go to a plastic one at this point in time. They usually come later in date. But again, there's no real difference there. That's a preference. I guess the only thing to be aware of is, depending on what snorkel you're going for, it's the size that you're going into the airbox and making sure the airbox is adequate enough for that size of snorkel. Should I get my turbo upgraded? All right, it's a really good thing to do on your 79 series. The standard turbo really is a great turbo for bottom end, but it suffers mid-range and top end. You usually get to about 2,500 RPM and you hit a wall and it doesn't produce any more power. The good thing is we have an option that will give you around about another 100 Newton meters everywhere in your torque curve, which is amazing to drive. Our JO turbo that we have for this particular car is only really designed for around 300 horsepower. Majority of the cars that run out will be around that, anywhere from 220 to 250. So it gives you a little bit more, but a really nice responsive curve everywhere. And it's a really suitable turbo for touring and towing. The one thing I love about this turbo is the bottom end response that it gives you and that transient drivability. It's something that is really important on a 70 series, especially when you have 35-inch tires, a manual gearbox. They're already hard enough to drive as it is. This makes it a pleasure to drive. In this last section, we are talking about aftercare and servicing of your vehicle. Servicing and maintaining my car after being at Just Autos with an enhancement. Well, you've got to consider that now you have an increase in power, which is also going to lead to an increase in temperature. And this means that servicing under your severe maintenance condition, because you are towing usually more weight and you have this increase in power with increased heat, our service condition is going to be more frequent than it was before. So this is to be mindful. The great news is that yes, Toyota can still service your vehicle if that is the provider that you're using to get your car serviced. Any other mechanic can definitely do these jobs as well. However, we do recommend following the handbook and listening to Toyota's severe condition servicing. What oil should I be running my vehicle after enhancements at Just Autos? Well, the key thing here is to remember is that because we've increased power, heat, and also you'll probably be towing more weight, you have to be considerate is that now that we're doing a severe service condition, is that the oil weight is going to change. Toyota set a lot of these vehicles up to have a certain frame line in for what oils need to be used in these vehicles. And now that we've enhanced them, we need to look at the oils to use to make sure that they protect the car, and the longevity of these vehicles are going to be proven within time and time again. So I recommend you guys talking to our service team on checkout, and they can recommend the correct oil for you. How often should I get my vehicle tuned? Well, I guess the answer to that question would be you shouldn't have to get the car retuned for the life of the vehicle as long as it's been maintained correctly and there's no problems. If you find you have issues down the track where you have to put a new set of turbos or a new set of injectors, I highly recommend you get the car checked. And this is because a lot of our fueling and boost levels and targets will change accordingly to that vehicle. It also means that with here at Just Autos, if you have tunes done with us and you're within a certain amount of time, we offer updates done for free. And we're always releasing new updates and new software for these vehicles as we progress through the years and find new things and better things to improve on. What fuel do I put in my car? This is a really broad question, and depending on the areas you are. I always like big chains and service stations that have a very reputable brand name. You're always pretty much guaranteed to get quality fuel at these places. The question would be around some of these places you have things like ultimate diesel and just plain old diesel and the differences between them. I haven't seen any real benefits for running a more refined diesel. I'm sure it's cleaner and it 100% may have less matter, or it's gone through the refinery process a lot better. But as far as giving you more power or any of these things, that is a huge debatable thing, and I don't think it's worthwhile putting that in there for those needs. If you are servicing your vehicle regularly with changing fuel filters regularly, I don't think there's a need to be running a premium diesel in your vehicle. How does tuning affect longevity of my engine? The biggest thing around here, like the two other questions, is it's all around maintenance and maintaining your vehicle and making sure that you're very strict with how you maintain your vehicle and look after it. If you look after your car, it will look after you. Yes, adding more power is always going to put more load on all components. However, if it's maintained and it's been looked after, there is no reason you can't do very high kilometers in these modes without any problems.